The United States Air Force is spending $9 billion on fighter jets that carry nobody. They're called collaborative combat aircraft, autonomous drone wingmen designed to fly alongside human pilots. Think about what that sentence actually means for a second. For about a century now, the basic unit of air power has been a person in a seat, pulling a stick, making decisions at the speed their body allows. That's what flying a fighter has been. That's what every war movie, every recruiting poster, every kid's bedroom poster has been built around. The pilot, in the cockpit, hand on the throttle. The United States Air Force is starting to walk away from that idea. The Air Force unveiled something called the Collaborative Combat Aircraft Program in 2023. The name is deliberately boring. What it describes is not. These are autonomous drone wingmen, designed to fly alongside piloted 5th and 6th generation fighters, executing orders from a human pilot who never touches their controls. In April 2024, the Air Force eliminated Boeing, Lockheed Martin, and Northrop Grumman from the competition, and awarded the prototype contracts to Anduril Industries and General Atomics. General Atomics YFQ-42 Alpha made its first flight in August 2025. Anduril's YFQ-44 Alpha followed on October 31st. Northrop Grumman, after losing the initial round, came back on its own dime with a new design called Project Talon, the YFQ-48 Alpha, angling for the next phase of the program. The Air Force is requesting nearly $1 billion in fiscal 27 just to start buying these things. Total spending on CCA programs from fiscal 25 through 29 is projected above $8.9 billion. And here's the number that does the heavy lifting. Colonel Timothy Helfrich, the portfolio acquisition executive for fighters and advanced aircraft, said the program is beating former Secretary Frank Kendall's cost target of 1/3 the price of an F-35. His exact words were, "Not only have we met that goal, we are doing much better than that." The latest F-35 production lots, with engine included, come in at about $101.5 million per aircraft. 1/3 of that is roughly $33 million. Helfrich declined to share specific figures, but confirmed the CCA unit cost is landing under that target. So you're looking at autonomous combat aircraft that cost less than 1/3 of the jet they're flying next to, and nobody inside them needs a flight suit. These platforms are powered by AI autonomy stacks developed by the Air Force Research Laboratory, DARPA, and industry partners. Software brains like Anduril's Lattice and Shield AI's agents, all plugging into a government reference architecture designed to keep the competition going long after the airframes are picked. If you want to understand why this shift isn't theoretical, look at Ukraine, not the geopolitics, the production numbers. While the Air Force builds $30 million CCAs, Ukraine proves the concept at scale with $300 FPV drones. Ukraine is deploying approximately 9,000 drones per day. That's not a misprint. 9,000. Daily. In 2024, the country produced roughly 2.2 million unmanned aerial vehicles. In 25, that figure is expected to exceed 4.5 million, over 2 million of which are first-person view drones. Before the full-scale invasion in 22, Ukraine had 7 domestic drone manufacturers. By 25, that number had grown to around 500. Ukraine's 2026 defense budget allocates 2.8 trillion hryvnias, roughly $66 billion, with record weapons procurement of 955 billion hryvnias, much of it flowing directly into domestic drone production. Bloomberg reported that Ukraine now produces around 4 million drones per year, more than any individual NATO country, and likely more than the entire alliance combined. Oleksandr Kamyshin, the architect of Ukraine's drone program, was asked whether whoever deploys effective drone swarms first will have a massive advantage. His answer, "In my belief, yes. Both countries are close. None got there yet." Drones now account for about 80% of battlefield attacks in that conflict. One operation tells the story better than any statistic. In June 2025, Ukraine launched Operation Spiderweb, a coordinated drone infiltration strike that damaged or destroyed roughly 1/3 of Russia's irreplaceable nuclear-capable long-range bombers. The SBU claimed 34% of Russia's strategic cruise missile carriers were affected, with estimated losses around $7 billion. That wasn't a manned air sortie, it was drones, fiber optic cables instead of radio signals to resist jamming, guided by operators who could have been sitting in a basement 200 kilometers away. The uncomfortable fact underneath all of this is physics. Human bodies are the limiting factor in modern fighter aircraft performance. Estimates suggest pilots reduce kinematic performance by as much as 80%. That means the jet can do things the person inside it cannot survive. In August 2020, DARPA ran the Alpha dogfight trials. Heron Systems' artificial intelligence beat a human F-16 pilot 5-0 in simulated dogfights. The AI used tactics human pilots wouldn't attempt, including flying directly at the opposing jet in what amounts to a high-speed game of chicken, only breaking off at the last possible moment. That goes beyond how pilots train even at the elite Air Force Weapons School. Former Air Force Secretary Frank Kendall put it plainly. He said the best human pilot you'll ever find takes a few tenths of a second to react. The AI does it in a microsecond, orders of magnitude faster, and in air combat, those fractions of time determine who wins. By September 2023, DARPA's Air Combat Evolution program had moved from simulation to reality. At Edwards Air Force Base, the X-62 Alpha Vista aircraft, an AI-controlled modified F-16, flew against a human-piloted F-16 in an actual dogfight. Safety pilots sat in the AI aircraft's cockpit, but didn't touch the controls. Officials declined to share win-loss ratios, citing national security, which tells you something all by itself. Here's where it's worth stepping back for a second. This isn't about whether robots are cool or scary. It's about whether the thing most of us assumed was permanent, a human being in the cockpit of a fighter jet as the basic unit of air power, is actually permanent, or whether it was just a phase. A long one, spanning about a century, but a phase. Entire generations grew up certain that flying a fighter meant being in the cockpit. That certainty is what's being quietly set aside right now, in budget documents and flight tests that most people will never read about. If that kind of shift, the hinge moments where the old rules stop applying, is the kind of thing you find as fascinating as I do, that's exactly what we cover on Volt Media. Stick around. The Air Force plans to begin incorporating new drone fighting units into the force in the early 2030s. Sweden's military unveiled software in January 25, built by Saab, that lets a single soldier control up to 100 drones simultaneously. China paraded multiple loyal wingman prototypes in Beijing during rehearsals for the 2025 Victory Day parade. India's Hindustan Aeronautics Limited has its CATS Warrior drone with a combat radius of 350 kilometers that extends to 700 kilometers on one-way suicide missions, and successfully completed engine ground runs in January 2025. The UK shortlisted 7 companies for Project Nyx in January 2026, all competing to build autonomous drones that work alongside Apache attack helicopters. The Pentagon's Defense Innovation Unit launched the Orchestrator Prize Challenge in January 2026, offering vendors up to $100 million to make it easy for troops to direct drone swarms on land, at sea, or in the air. Rear Admiral Michael Donnelly recently said an upcoming combat jet could be the Navy's last one with a pilot in the cockpit. Not everyone agrees on the timeline. Brigadier General Doug Wickett, commander of the 412 Test Wing, said fully robotized warfare is centuries away. A Ukrainian drone expert interviewed by IEEE Spectrum countered that pretty good full autonomy in good weather could arrive in 2 to 3 years. Colonel Helfrich offered what might be the most honest framing in all of this. He said, "An 85% solution in the hands of a warfighter today is infinitely better than a 100% solution that never arrives." The Air Force will make its production decision for the first round of CCA sometime in 2026. If that decision goes forward, these drone wingmen could be operational by the end of the decade. The fiscal 2027 budget includes $996.5 million in CCA procurement, plus another $150 million in advance procurement for 2028. For about a century, the image of air power was a person in a seat, a hand on a stick, a helmet, and a flight suit. That image was so fixed in our heads it almost felt like a law of physics. It wasn't. It was a design choice that made sense given the technology of the time. The technology has moved. The Air Force is now spending close to $9 billion on aircraft that carry nobody there. A single fighter pilot used to be the unit of measurement for air power. 9,000 drones a day is what Ukraine calls Tuesday. Thank you for watching this one all the way through. These videos take time to research, write, and fact-check, and the fact that you stayed with me for the whole thing is genuinely the reason I keep making them. I'll see you on the next one.